Hey guys, welcome to another video. It has been a minute since I filmed a video for you guys, and as I'm sure you understand, sometimes everything just hits you one after another, and between kids getting sick and then in-laws visiting and weddings and funerals, I just didn't have time to sit down and edit or film any videos. So thank you so much for your patience during this little break that I have been on. And I should be back on a regular schedule from here on out. But while I was on this little hiatus, the craziest thing happened and we hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. So if you have recently subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome to the community. And I'm just so honored that I've hit the 1,000 subscriber mark and you all have chosen to subscribe and stick around and watch these videos. This video is going to be part 2 of our easy meal planning for beginners series, or how to easily plan your meal series, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care, but it is all about digging down to the very basics of meal planning so that you can easily plan your meals from here on out. And in this video, we are going to be tackling how to plan easy lunches. Now, lunches was the second big mistake that I made when I first started meal planning, because like I mentioned in the last video, I was all excited and gung-ho and I wanted to plan unique breakfasts, unique lunches, and unique dinners every single day. And that didn't last too long because I got burned out, as I think most people would if they are spending that much time cooking and cleaning. If you have not yet had a chance to check out part 1 of this series, I will put a link to it in the description down below and of course in the cards as well. And you can check that out because this series is going to be in sequential order that will make it the easiest for you to plan out your meals in the future. So check that out if you haven't already, and we will be waiting right here when you are done with that. Now, lunches for me was another area I decided to simplify my meal plan because dinner is the time when my husband is home and we all eat meals together. So for me, in our situation, it made the most sense to simplify breakfasts and lunches. And one of the main reasons that we decided to simplify these meals is because I realized I didn't like cooking and cleaning all day long. And another reason is I found that it increased my grocery budget quite a bit when I was trying to do unique breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. When I simplified and streamlined my breakfasts and lunches, my grocery budget went down by quite a bit. So I think this is another great reason that you should simplify these meals if you are trying to figure out if this is for you or not. Now, you don't have to simplify your lunches. Some people like to eat a more elaborate lunch and then a lighter supper, and that is totally okay as well. But I just recommend simplifying 2 of your meals each day and then having one more elaborate time-intensive meal for your family. So just like with the breakfasts, we're going to take a look at our weekday lunches first. And just like with the breakfasts, there are several options for how you can simplify them, depending on the number of people in your family and your lifestyle and just what works best for you and your situation. The first way that I recommend simplifying your lunches is to have leftovers every weekday for lunch. This is what we do in our family because I just find it saves a lot of money. It saves a lot of time because I don't have to cook again. I just have to reheat the items. And it really decreases the amount of food waste that we have in our house. So every single day, just about for lunch, anytime we have leftovers, we will eat those for lunch. Now, we are all home during the day at this point, so I will typically give my kids an option. Do you want X, Y, or Z for lunch? And they actually really like having this choice because for breakfast, we all eat the same thing, and for dinner, we all eat the same thing. So it's kind of fun for them to be able to decide what they would like to eat for lunch, even if it is only a couple different specific options. Now, when my husband worked outside of the home, what we did for him was I would, as I was putting the food away in the evening, make him his own special container of food. And sometimes I would even put it into his lunchbox for him and put that into the refrigerator if there were several different parts and I didn't want him to forget anything. And that way, all he had to do in the morning was grab his lunch pail out and head out the door. Now, I know it doesn't take that long for somebody to put some food from one container into another, but when I was putting everything into one container, he just often would leave it at home because he would be rushing in the morning, which I understood because neither of us are morning people, and he would just rush out the door and then end up running by Taco Bell during his lunch break. So I found it worked much better when I just pre-portioned his meal, or when we were both working outside of the home, I would pre-portion both of our meals. And then you just know, I would put it in the exact same spot of the fridge every day. He knew where it was, he knew which one his lunch would be. And sometimes I would even just show him as I was getting it ready, hey, this is your lunch container for tomorrow. So he just knew exactly what he needed to grab. And that ended up saving us a lot of money every month on eating out or just grabbing something quick at the grocery store because it was using food that we had already paid for and already made. So this is my number one recommendation for any people who are home during the day. So stay-at-home moms with any kids that are home, and anyone that is working at an office where they have access to a microwave that they can heat things up during the day. Now, I know some people don't like leftovers because they just don't like eating reheated food, or it doesn't taste as good the next day, or whatever. But I would suggest that you figure out some way to use your leftovers, whether it's repurposing them or donating them or something, so that the food isn't just going to waste. But I actually make leftovers on purpose. I will double my meals in the evenings to make sure that we have plenty for leftovers. But if no amount of repurposing is going to make you want to eat those leftovers, then let's move on to option number 2. And option number 2 is going to sound really similar to what we did with breakfasts last week, but this option would be to have the same lunch every single weekday. So this could be something like sandwiches or salads or haystacks or burritos or something that's really easy to put together. Think about options that aren't going to require a lot of cooking or cleanup. But if that sounds like it would be too boring for you, you can also choose option number 3. And option number 3 is where you would choose 2 different lunches, and one lunch you would have on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the other lunch you would have on Tuesday and Thursday. Now, you still want both of these to be very simple and easy to make and clean up, but it would give you a little bit more variety in your week. The next option would be to create a 4-week rotation for your lunches. So this is really similar to one of the options we looked at with breakfasts, but for lunches, this could look like week 1, you would have burritos every single day for lunch. Week 2, you would have sandwiches every single day for lunch. Week 3 would be salads every day. And week 4 would be haystacks. And then you would just continue to use that rotation over and over. And it would give you some variety while still making your grocery shopping really easy every week. And the last option, just like with breakfast, would be to choose a 5-day rotation. So Mondays, maybe burritos. Tuesdays, maybe sandwiches. Wednesdays, maybe salads. Thursdays, maybe haystacks. And Fridays, maybe quesadillas for lunch. So every week you would be cycling through the exact same 5 meals, and you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel with planning or with your grocery shopping. But it would still be pretty simple because you are doing the same thing every single week. Now, all of these options are great for if you are at home during the day or if you are in an office where you have access to a kitchen of some sort. But what about for your kids who are at school during the day? And I think this is the trickiest part of meal planning for lunches, because I was just talking with some friends recently whose kids are in school, and they were telling me how long their kids have to eat, and it is not much time at all. It is crazy how little time these kids have to eat. And I don't know if this is across the country or if this is just where we live, but it's not much time at all. And the kids really have a limited amount of time in which to go to their locker, get their lunch out, heat it if they need to, and then eat the food, get the food back into their locker, and get their books out for their next period. So I started to think of some ideas that might be useful for these kids who are at school during the day. And you can still use any of the ideas for whichever kind of rotation you want to have, whether it's the same thing every day of the week, a 5-day rotation, or a 4-week rotation, or the two lunches a week rotation with the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. But your options might be a little bit different just because they don't have a lot of time to heat things up. And especially if there are limited microwaves and they have to wait in line for them, that just doesn't work very well for kids who are at school. So here are a couple different ideas for if your children are at school. One thing that would work really well is spring rolls or fresh rolls. And when I say these fresh rolls or spring rolls, different people call them different things. It's the rice wrappers with fresh veggies on the inside. And these can work really well because they actually stay really well overnight. So you can make them the night before and then double wrap them with the rice wrapper and just put a little container of some peanut sauce or whichever kind of sauce your kids like with the wraps. And we've taken these actually before on hikes with us, and they stayed really, really well. I actually figured this one out on accident because I was out of sandwich bread and I didn't want to go to the store, but I happen to have everything on hand to make fresh wraps before our hike the next day. So in our wraps, we put things like lettuce, cucumbers, bell peppers, mint is really good in them, basil, and I will fry up some tofu and put in there as well. But the tofu actually still tastes good even when it's cold, as long as you fry it with a little bit of soy sauce and honey, and it kind of caramelizes and tastes really good even the next day. And then I will double wrap them with the rice wrapper so that the wrap doesn't break and spill everything all over your container. And then I also just took a small container of the sauce, and they worked fabulously. And these have actually become one of my favorite hiking foods because it's just nice to have something other than a sandwich all the time when you're on a hike, and it's fresh and healthy, and it doesn't make you feel kind of bogged down and heavy after you eat it. And what I actually did is, I don't know if these are the normal takeout containers everywhere, but around where we live, the Northwest is very into reusable items. So if you get takeout anywhere, you get a container like this. If you get Thai food or Chinese food or anything like that. And the containers are reusable and they seal up really well. And I would put the rolls in here. I could fit, let's see, I think I could fit 4 across in here. And then they don't fall over the place. You don't have to, worry about them getting smashed or anything like that because they're in a solid container. And so this would be another great option for lunches at school, is you can take things in here and not have to worry about them getting smashed or smushed. But it's not as heavy as a glass container for their backpacks. So we often will just keep a stack of these from different takeout places that we have gone, and we will use them for going on hikes if we want to take something more than just a sandwich. Another way that these work really well is if you want to send leftovers with somebody who is going to school, because these are technically microwave safe, although I don't love microwaving in plastic. But what I'll do is I will heat something up ahead of time and I will make it really, really hot. And then I will put it in here, seal it up. And since these are takeout containers, they're made for keeping food hot for a long time. And what has happened often when I take them on a hike, which it's very chilly out often when I'm doing this, is the heated up food will end up being about room temperature by the time we're ready to eat it at lunchtime when I pack it in the morning. So it would work well for that as well. You could heat things up, put it in here, seal it up, and then they won't have to worry about eating cold food. It'll just be a little less warm than they may like it, but it's an option that would give them something other than just having sandwiches all the time. Another option for students would be mason jar recipes. Again, mason jars can be kind of heavy, so something you could put all of the mason jar contents into something like this, and they would be able to stir those up and eat it as well. Another thing you could send with kids would be burritos. Burritos don't always have to be piping hot, especially if you just use room temperature refried beans and tortillas. That would be fine until lunchtime, and they wouldn't be gross to eat if it's not hot. Something else that we have done on hikes is peanut butter and jelly quesadillas, or you could do regular quesadillas too if you eat cheese. We just don't eat cheese, so ours would fall apart if we did regular ones and then took them on a hike with us. But Things like that, things that you can make ahead of time that they don't have to be reheated, would be good options to send with your kids to school. I hope that helps give you some ideas for them as well. I just really couldn't believe it when I found out how little time the kids had to eat. And what I would suggest doing if you have a child who is in school is sit down with them, come up with some good options for you to prepare and make, and things that you know that they will enjoy eating and be able to eat in the time that they have allotted. And come up with either one thing that they want to eat every single day of the week, or a couple options that they'll rotate, or one of those 5-day rotations, or a 4-week rotation like we talked about. And just get their buy-in and let them help you figure out the best way for them to get healthy lunches at school. Now, once you have your weekday lunches figured out, you can start working on your weekend lunches. And just like with the breakfasts, I recommend just splitting up your weekend into whatever your busy weekend day is and whatever your easier, more relaxed weekend day is. So for us, like I've mentioned before, Saturday is our busier day since that is the day we go to church on. So for us, it makes a lot of sense for us to do something like haystacks for lunch on Saturday, because it just is something that's really easy to throw together every single weekend, and it has a lot of items in it that we just have on hand, and it's something that's really easy to add to if we decided to have someone else over for lunch. So then Sunday is our more relaxed weekend day, and often we actually don't end up eating lunch on Sunday because, like I mentioned in the breakfast video, my husband will make a more elaborate brunch style breakfast that we often don't end up finishing until 10:30 or 11. And we just aren't that hungry for any sort of a lunch. Sometimes we'll give the girls a handful of nuts if they are hungry, but we just typically don't eat again until our maybe a little bit earlier dinner on Sunday. So we just don't plan for any sort of lunch on Sunday, but of course, if people are hungry, they are welcome to have some leftovers on Sunday as well. And then once you have decided on all of your lunches, be sure to put those in your set it and forget it template. And again, I will leave a link to that in the description down below if you would like to use the same template that I use for mine. But of course, if you don't want to get that, you can always just use old-fashioned pen and paper. That will work absolutely as well. But be sure you're writing it down in some way or other so that you aren't having to reinvent the wheel down the road and make these decisions all over again. I hope this video helped you figure out what to feed your family for lunches. And leave me a comment down below and let me know which option you are going to go with for your weekday lunches. And let me know if you'd like what weekend lunches you are going to use as well. I always love hearing what you guys are going to do in the comments down below. As always, I'm Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and I make videos all about simplifying mom life. So be sure to subscribe down below if you liked this video and have not yet subscribed, because I would love to see you on the next one.